All right, welcome to our next video in the series. This is for programming in Java. This is the end of our first chapter where we've had the time to learn print statements. We've probably learned the basics of what a method is and why we would want to decompose large methods into smaller ones. To print out the lyrics of this song right here. This is an old song. There was an old lady who swallowed a fly. I don't know why she swallowed the fly. Perhaps she'll die. Is it a little morbid? Yes. Why do we have this song? Because you'll notice there's a certain amount of repetition in all the lyrics that lends itself to logical decomposition. How can we print out the lyrics of this song using the cleanest code possible, trying to avoid repeating similar statements? If we find ourselves writing the same statement more than once, could we instead make that a method and then call that method multiple times? So that's the idea. These are all the verses. I believe there are 7 verses. Fly, spider, bird, cat, dog, cow, and horse. So before I get into the particulars, some advice on how to do this assignment, I want to review the rubric, which is we should have a header. Headers look like this. All of our projects that we turn in are going to have a header. You need to have your name, your period, the class, the name of the project. So that's what your header should look like for Old Lady. Your program should compile. Now, you can't just turn in anything that compiles and get this point. You had to have made a good effort to complete the project with most of the points already being earned in order to earn the compiling point. You can't just turn in Hello World with a header and expect to get a 2 out of 10. We want to make sure everything is nicely commented. So remember our rules, the Falcon standard that we use at our school. Every method gets at least one comment explaining what it's doing. If you have a cluster of statements that are serving a particular task, if you've got 4, 5, 6 statements grouped together, give them some space, give them some blank lines above and below them, and then put an explanatory comment above them. Right? These lines of code are trying to X, Y, Z, whatever it is you're trying to do. Notice that 2 out of 10 points means that 20% of your grade on this project is going to come from comments. Next up, we really want to adhere to good formatting, right? So make sure your indentation is good. Statements are indented to show they're inside of methods. Methods are indented to show that they're inside of classes. By cleanly indenting, you will show your understanding of how statements, methods, and the class coexist. Make sure your identifiers are good. When you name your methods, you should be using camel case. Make an effort to make your code look nice and readable. We all know what jumbled together, smashed up text looks like. That's not what we're looking for. The more readable your code is, the better your score will be. You get 2 points if it produces the right output. And you get 3 points if you make use of multiple methods to reduce repetition. So I want to give you a couple of examples. Some of you are looking at this right here and you're thinking to yourself, gosh, that's a lot of statements. I counted them all. I believe it's 55 statements. You might be thinking to yourself, well, gosh, Mr. Mulvaney, can't I just make 55 print statements, slap that in a main method, and call it a project? I won't be giving any points for this solution. It's not particularly creative or interesting. But more than that, it is cumbersome. The amount of time it takes you to just verbatim type all 55 lines and put system.out.println in front of it is really, it's just boring and it's bad. And we don't want to do it. Instead, I'm going to encourage you to recognize where the similarities are. Notice these 2 statements right here. Swallowed the fly, perhaps she'll die. It appears, or I don't know why she swallowed the fly, perhaps she'll die. These 3 statements appear there, and there, and there. And indeed, they appear at the end of 6 of the 7 verses. So could we make, rather than repeating these 3 lines over and over, could we make a method that contains these 3 print statements that we'll just call it when we need it? The other hint I'm going to give out is that observe the similarity between all the verses. This part of the fly verse is contained inside spider, but the whole last 4 lines of spider are contained in bird, and the last 5 lines of bird are contained in cat. So I would say there are going to be efficient solutions for to do this and then ultra efficient solution. And you will know that you've got one of the very best solutions when you find that you're never writing more than one of these print statements more than once. I want to caution you, it is also entirely possible to over-engineer this. You could create 40 methods and call each of those methods in different places. That would be a little bit too much. I think an ideal solution is going to have somewhere between 5 and 12 methods. But however you want to break it up is fine with me. Remember, programming is an act of creativity. It's a personal expression. And the solution that I came up with that I think is elegant might differ slightly from yours. And as long as you're adhering to good style and good logic, there's no penalty for that. We just would have different preferences in code, just like if we were both authors of essays or novels, we might use different prose, have different style there. So when you go to execute it, it should look a little something like this. A couple of reminders, please make sure that you've got clear screen at method call turned on. Please make sure you've got unlimited buffering turned on. Otherwise, some of the output's going to get cut off. That's what the whole output looks like. That's the Old Lady project. Thank you for watching.